Identify the problem. This is the first step of the troubleshooting methodology. And in some cases, you might get a help desk ticket from a user that simply states, "The computer's acting funny." Unfortunately, that's not much to act on, so we need to dig a little bit deeper. When we identify the problem, we have to make sure, in fact, that we first know what the problem is in the first place. And we want to make sure that we don't confuse symptoms with the problem itself, the root cause of the problem. So if the symptom is a lack of network connectivity, well, what's the root cause of it? It could be interference, whether we're talking about a wired network cable, or interference if we're talking about a wireless network. Then we have to determine if those symptoms can be recreated. Because if we can recreate the problem again, then we really do know what the problem is, and we're on our way to solving it. If a user is involved, we have to question the user. What exactly were they doing when the problem occurred? What were the error message details, if any, were provided? That would include error message text, maybe an error message ID that could help us search up a potential resolution to the issue. Then we have to ask ourselves, what has changed since this problem began occurring? And do we have a system restore point in the case of a Windows client operating system? System restore points are great because you can revert the configuration of that Windows client to an earlier point in time. And in some cases, that could solve a problem, at least temporarily. Do we have any backups of data? What about configuration settings? Have they been changed? Have updates been applied, either at the hardware level for firmware updates, or maybe operating system updates, or application software updates? Sometimes updates can fix one issue but then present another problem elsewhere. Have there been changes to the network configuration? So what has changed since the problem began? We always have to ask ourselves that. Then we need to review relevant logs, whether those logs are on a specific user device, or whether it's a log on a server, or if it's a log on a network device like a wireless router or a network switch. And in many cases, enterprises will have configured log forwarding so that all of this log data is in one central repository, but it really depends on the configuration. So as an example, imagine the problem is that a user can't save new customer profiles using a custom system. So the next thing we'd have to wonder is, okay, well, first things first, is there any kind of an error message related to not being able to save those customer profiles? Or when did this start happening? Were there any recent system changes of any kind? Do other apps work beyond our customer profile system? And of course, we have to scope it out. Are other users affected? If only a single user is affected by that customer profile system, yet numerous people use the customer profile system, the problem probably does not lie with the customer profile system itself, unless it's an access control or security permission issue. But generally, we have to scope it out and see who or what is affected.